Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly, the most popular football program in America, featuring Dennis Tobler and Fred Wallen.
Hello, football fans. My name's Dennis Tobler in Las Vegas, and I have some great news for you. This season, Football Forecast Weekly will be back on the TV air and back on all the podcast stations around the country. So listen to the Football Forecast Weekly show every week on your favorite device, on your favorite channel. We'll also have the show videoed and in TV format on footballforecast.com, gamblingbroadcast.com, Gambling Broadcast YouTube, and many other outlets, including Astound TV Network. So stay with us all year. We'll have all the winners you need. Now it's time for me to introduce my co-host, and what a great co-host I've always had, and it's Mr. Fred Wallen. He is the sports guru of sports radio. There's no doubt about it. When the Sports Radio Hall of Fame hits, Fred's number one on the list. Mr. Fred Wallen, bring him on the show, Alan.
What a week we had in the National Football League. Weird, totally weird. Starting last Thursday with the 1-point upset, Detroit over KC, and then Sunday night, Dallas 40, the Giants zip. I wonder how many people actually watched the entire game on NBC on Sunday. I know I turned it off 3/4 into it. I couldn't take it anymore. And then, of course, Monday night, Rodgers goes down for the entire season. So it was quite a first week in the National Football League.
I'm pretty sure we have something to say about each and every team as we go through them today. So I say we not waste any time and get right to it. The first game this week, and before we do get into the games, let's give the audience out there a little bit of the feeling for what they're listening for and looking for when they listen to us analyze these games. Now, Fred is a sports guru, like I said. Between the two of us, we have well over 100 years of gambling experience. I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm a sports bettor in Las Vegas. I use my own handicapping software and managed my line movements myself and go the direction of betting. Fred goes the direction of some fantasy. Pay close attention to when we speak about line moves and totals on this show, and also be paying close attention to Fred Wallen when he gives you some people who he thinks are good plays on your fantasy league. Okay, now let's get to the NFL. We're in week 2, so we know how week 1 went. And the first game on the board is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Tennessee Titans. LA is a 3-point favorite here, and I'm going to make this one easy to start off. The wrong team's favored. Tennessee is going to win this game straight up.
I don't know who's going to win straight up, but if you score 34 points, you're supposed to win in the National Football League. But if Brandon Staley's your coach, that's not going to happen all the time. I think he's not going to make it through the season. I think this one's going to go under. I've seen 45.5 now. I think this game's going to go under. Tennessee's defense will. I think Herbert's a great quarterback. And again, scored 34 last week. Not enough against Miami. But the point being, I think this one's going to go under. I don't have a strong opinion on the win. But if it's a close game, you're not going to go with Staley too often, to be honest with you. The last 2 years, Dennis, he kept the 2 years ago, all he had to do was get a tie against Oakland. He's in the playoffs, and for some crazy reason, he went for the win, and of course he lost it. And then last year, he lost a 27-0 lead against Jacksonville. You can't go with him. I'm going under.
Well, that's why I'm taking Tennessee, because I agree with you. Staley will be gone, and he may be gone before the first month of the season, because I don't look for the Chargers to win this game. Now, I agree with you wholeheartedly on the under. Total started at 46.5. It's actually down to 45 now. So it's headed that direction, and I think you're right on that too. All right, let's go to another famous team, the Green Bay Packers, and their new quarterback, Jordan Love. They came out with a big win last week at the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons came out with a big win last week too. And Green Bay Packers here opened at 1 and went to 2-point favorites after their their performance last week. So they're on the road, 2-point favorites over the Atlanta Falcons. How do you see that one?
Dennis, you believe in Murphy's Law? When things go badly, they go even worse. Okay,
I
so
do.
Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. The quarterback who he held back wasn't a friend to in Jordan Love as the Packers quarterback, of course. I think the Packers are going to win just to shut Rodgers up. Listen, I'm sorry he's hurt because he's fun to watch, Rodgers. And with those wide receivers the Jets have, it would have been quite a season. But honest to God, I'm going with Green Bay just on a hunch that Jordan Love now has a great season. They win 10 games. They make the playoffs, and they win this one. The 2 points, I think they'll win by much more than that.
I don't know what the world's coming to. I agree with you. I tell you right now, I think Atlanta's going to win this game too, or Green Bay's going to win this game handily. 2 points is not enough. I mean, if you can just win by a field goal and get out of there, here's another game where the total is not going to be much. It's 40.5. So Green Bay played well with Love. I agree with you. They have a chip on their shoulder about Rodgers. Everybody thought Rodgers was the whole team. The whole team now is going to prove that they can do it with Jordan Love at quarterback. I think they have the better team. Atlanta got lucky last week. I'm taking Green Bay on the road, laying the points too. The next game on the board is another rookie quarterback situation with the Indianapolis Colts, and they're playing the Houston Texans, two of probably the very worst teams in the league. The game opened at Houston -2, and it's now the Indianapolis Colts -1. So we have an opposite favorite going the other direction. The total's going down from 41 to 39. Not much scoring there. I watched both these teams play last week. Indianapolis with their rookie quarterback, he's not going to be able to make it much in the league. He's no good, and he's going to turn the ball over tons of times. Now, Houston, on the other hand, played well enough on the road last week, and they will score some points at home. In this matchup, I'm going to take Houston to win the game. I'm going to take Houston to win their first and maybe only game of the season.
Actually, none of the young quarterbacks played well last week. I don't think there'll be a lot of points scored here. And there is some question. Folks, we're taping this on Tuesday. There is some question if Richardson is 100%. So you gotta take that in consideration too. I think he's a better quarterback than you think he is. It's interesting how life has changed. He only completed 55% in college of his passes, Richardson. And so that's bad now. Got to complete 65. But when I look at him, I see a guy who's going to become a top-notch quarterback. I really do. It's not going to happen this week, though. I'm going under, and it's a game of, I think a lot of mistakes have been made by both clubs. Your point might be well taken. Houston gets one of its very few victories here. I'm going under, and I expect a game that most people don't want to watch.
Well, I'm going to comment on your quarterback Love again. I mean, this guy showed me nothing but he looks like a running back to me. And then he got hurt when he ran the ball. So I'm not going to fall for your brand new hero quarterback status with the Colts because I don't think he'll be their quarterback very much longer. And Houston, they're going to win at home. They have a better coach. And the Colts are way overrated. It was proved last week. Okay, folks. We're going to take our first break now, but before we go, I want to remind you to listen very closely to the upcoming commercial spot. It's about Now Place Your Bets, the history of sports betting in America. This is a documentary we released in 2017 before betting was legal in the United States, and it's won all the awards there are to win. It can be seen at nowplaceyourbets.com. So please listen to this review and watch the documentary when you get a chance. So for now, we'll be right back with more football with Fred Wallen.
Now Place Your Bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly, everyone, and be sure to check out Now Place Your Bets. That documentary is a solid documentary with all of the information you'll want to know that it took for betting to become legal in America. It just didn't happen. There were many years and many people that were involved in making that come to pass. So be sure and watch Now Place Your Bets. All right, now back to the football scene. And we seem to be on a roll here because we tend to be agreeing a little. The next game on the board is the Seattle Seahawks, who had a devastating defeat last week. And by the way, Fred, I put in a contest pick for you on the Seahawks on the Survivor contest and thought maybe you'd be right, but you were wrong. So you only got one pick and now the contest is dead. So the Seattle Seahawks are on the road to play the Detroit Lions, who have been refurbished, and boy, are they riding a high after that win over Kansas City, which isn't really that impressive because if we think about the past years, Kansas City always loses 1 or 2 or 3 games to start the year. They definitely lose versus the spread every year in their starting game. So it didn't surprise me that Detroit came out with a win in that, but they did play very, very well. The line on this game opened at 3. Quickly jumped to 6. Okay. So, you know, the wise guys are all over Detroit at home. Another key point here is the total opened at 51.5. 51.5. Now it's down to 47. If you want to bet, you need to bet these kind of moves. Take the under now because it'll be 45 come Sunday. So, Fred, I'm going to have to take the Detroit Lions here. They're a hot team. Seattle did not impress me one bit. As a matter of fact, I don't know what happened to Geno. He plays one game good and he plays one game bad. And frankly, I think they might have traded away the best of their talent and their leadership. And I'm not looking for much out of Seattle. I want to say another thing before I turn it over to you. All 6 head coaches that are new this year in the NFL lost their first game. All 6 new NFL coaches lost their first game. So what we're looking at here is some rehabilitation on everybody's side. And I'm going to take Detroit, the hot team.
All right, I'm going to take Seattle. And again, I thought last week with the Rams defense being what it is, that Geno Smith would have quite an afternoon. Yeah, he had quite an afternoon, but it was a bad afternoon. And as you indicate, I didn't know you had put my Survivor thought in. But the point is, I think they'll cover the 6-point spread. Look, I like Dan Campbell. You watched him on Hard Knocks last year. He seems to be a guy that players play for. I'm not a big Pete Carroll fan. I just have a hunch. You got Metcalf and Lockett. They're going to score some points against the Lions. So I know it dropped from 51 to 47. I'm not sure about the over-under. But I'm going to take the 6 points. If it jumped that many points, I'm going to take Seattle on the road against the Detroit Lions. I don't think Seattle's going to go 0-2. Well, I think they're going to play someone close, and I'm going to take the 6 points.
You have a lot more confidence in the players on Seattle than I do. I think their receivers were frustrated last week. I seen them throw their defenders on the ground a couple of times. They're lucky they didn't have penalties. I think they're frustrated with the offense, frustrated with Geno. I'm going to go the opposite direction on that one, so make your own mind up, people. Fred likes +6. I'm going to lay the 6. All right, now let's take on the Chicago Bears and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another game that really I have no interest in whatsoever. The Chicago Bears were 1.5-point favorites before the season started, but as of today, the line has moved to the Bucs -3 as they come back and won on week 1 and did so classy.
I'm not a Justin Fields guy. I don't think he's ever going to be a top-notch NFL quarterback. On the other hand, Baker Mayfield's got quite a streak going. Not a streak, but he's got a good thing going. If you remember last year when he gets moved to the Rams, he had 48 hours to learn the offense, and he wins that first game. I think Mayfield. I'm worried about the jump. I mean, you just indicated how much it jumped the last 48 hours, but still, I think Tampa with Mayfield will outplay Fields. Fields a fine runner. He's just not a great passer, and he's not enough to overcome the fact that I just think Mayfield will score a few touchdowns against the Bears. So I think I'm going to lean toward Tampa Bay in this.
I think the Bears are lousy always. I mean, every year they say they're going to be something. They're going to be something. They're never anything. They're lousy. They played terrible last week and got beat at home. I think it was one of the consensus picks in all the contests here in Las Vegas is the Bears -1 at home. They can't win. They're no good. You're absolutely right. Their quarterback's not a major league quarterback. He's not a major football quarterback. He might could play in the USFL or the Canadian Football League, but not in the NFL. So I think everyone should pay very close attention to the line moving from Bears -1 over the summer to Tampa Bay -3 now, because that tells you that Tampa Bay is the much better team. They're at home. Their defense is better, and Chicago can't score. Another key thing here is the line dropped from 44 to 41 on the total. That's a 3-point drop. That's because Chicago can't score. So I'm taking Tampa Bay here, maybe a little bit on the under to go along with it.
Let me say something else. Let me say the Bears losing by like 3 touchdowns last week. Mooney catches a touchdown pass and he goes crazy. You're losing by I don't get it. You know, when I was growing up, when you were growing up, if you're down by 3 touchdowns, you score a touchdown. Okay, you hand the ball to the referee and you worry about the next set of downs. These guys are nuts. I mean, the point is you're losing the game. Congratulations on the touchdown. You're not going to win. Shut up. I just don't understand.
You see it all the time. Somebody gets a sack on a quarterback after they're down 30-0, and they jump up and point the other way like they did something great. Hey, guys, you're on a team. The team scores the points. And just to mention back when I played, if I would have ever done something like that, or even the fancy quarterbacks I played under done something like that, the coach would have pulled us to the sideline, would have grabbed our face mask, took off our chin strap, and hit us in the helmet with that chin strap, and it hurts like hell, and your ears ring for a month. Okay? That's how you learn not to do stupid shit like that. All right? And I think that's what needs to be done in the NFL, because I go so sick of the celebratory crap. Okay, first time you ever made a tackle in your life, jump up and down. Let's get on with the game. Okay, now's the big one, where my hometown Las Vegas Raiders had a big upset last week. Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely a better replacement for Carr than anybody I could think of in the league. The Buffalo Bills played about as crappy a game, is the only way to put it, as I can ever imagine on Monday night. To blow a 13-point lead and lose straight up. Not only did it blow 20% of the people out of the consensus contests at the end of this week, but it cost people tons of money unless they bet back on the other team at halftime. And why would you do that? They didn't have any points at halftime. So it's a very, the first of the year is hard. I'm going to say this about the Raiders. They're much improved, okay? And I'm also worried about Elf McDaniels, the coach, because I'm not sure he's got the qualities to do it. But Jimmy Garoppolo will be able to go to the line, read the defense, and call the plays. So it's not so much in McDaniel's hands, okay? And also, they've got their receivers back. Davante Adams is the best. He's the best. And Garoppolo to Davante is going to score a lot of touchdowns this year, And they didn't even throw a pass to Hunter Renfrow, who 2 years ago was an all-pro. So they've got a lot in the can there. Their defense needs to be picked up a little bit, but they could put a rush on. That's one thing they can do is they can rush. Their cornerbacks still suck. If they can't do something about the cornerback situation, they're probably going to get beat bad by the good throwing teams. But in this matchup on the road against Buffalo, Buffalo has a lot to lose. They don't want to go 0-2. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not so sure about Josh Allen again. You know, I was on his bandwagon for a couple of years too. But you see, Fred, all of these guys come in and they make a flash and then they go dead in the pan because they think they're so great. He forced so many balls. He lost that game at the Jets on Monday night. And I'm not so sure he's their team. They didn't play anybody during preseason. That was their preseason game. Maybe they'll get better this time, but he's never had 4 interceptions or 4 turnovers in a game, and he did. And he's going to have to get a lot better against the Raiders who can put a rush on. I'm going to take the 9 points, man. I'm going to take the 9. I think they'll bet it up to 10 before game time, and I'm going to run with the Raiders.
I think Buffalo will win by 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. I think Allen, the rest of the 3 interceptions. I'm willing to wager right now in front of thousands of people listening to Football Forecast Weekly, he doesn't throw another 7 in the next 16 games. So he won't have 10 he'll have no more than 10 on the season. You're right.
I'll take that bet.
He had a horrendous. Let me just say this also. You know, if you're Allen and you're psyched up to play against Rodgers, and then Rodgers goes down on the 4th play of the game, maybe it gets into your head, one way or the other, we're going to win no matter what happens here. And that's why he made the bad passes. I agree with you. Not only bad passes, stupid passes. You just can't do that. But the point is, I just think that Rodgers thing may have gotten into his head where now I don't have to worry about the Hall of Fame quarterback. Maybe that had something to do with it. Jimmy G's a good quarterback. He's not worried. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think that the Bills will win by as many as they want to win by.
I think the general public is going to think the same thing you think, but I'm here to tell you that the Raiders are no slouch. I don't think that they can put points on the board at will. They may cover, they may not. I'm going with the Raiders. So we're opposite on that game too. Good. We're getting off to a good start on this second batch. That's for sure. We're opposite on every game. Okay, now we get a look at the fantastic Kansas City Chiefs with their one-in-a-kind coach, Andy Reid. They're 3-point favorites on the road to play Jacksonville. And here again, I'm going to make it easy. Jacksonville is going to beat them straight up. They can't stop them. They should have never, ever traded Tyreek Hill away, Kansas City. And as I just said in an earlier segment, Kansas City is known to lose the first 2, 3, 4 games of the year every year. So I'm going to take the Jaguars, and I'm going to take a chance and take the money line.
Well, Patrick Mahomes on the other side. I'm taking Kansas City. Kelsey's back. And Kelsey's his guy. I mean,
yeah.
My point is, no matter what wide receivers he's had, as long as Kelsey's there, he's been the guy for the 2nd and 22 completion to Kelsey for 24. And he wasn't there last week. Chris Jones and the defense is back this week. Kansas City is not going to lose 2 in a row. I was impressed with Trevor Lawrence. I'm not questioning that. I'm taking the Chiefs here. I don't think they're going to go 0-2.
Well, you do make some good points with the people coming back, and also the fact that Mahomes is the best. But the fact in this matchup is, I'm not sure they played enough during preseason either to get their timing down. Jacksonville, on the other hand, their offense is astounding. I don't know what happened to their defense, but their offense is going to be very good this year. I'm going to take a flyer and take the Jags at home. All right, let's move on.
Dennis, let me ask you a question. Remember when we were growing up, there were 6 exhibition games and then 12 or 14 regular season games. Okay, so the NFL thinks they're brilliant. Now they go to 3 exhibition games. You just made the point that I think is very valid. In those 3 games, the starters hardly play at all. So like the first couple games of the season, basically still preseason versus what we had 30 and 40 years ago. So I think they shouldn't be charging people for the exhibition games, but you need more than 3 based on what I've seen the last few years.
Yes, because, I mean, half these first-string big-time quarterbacks never played it down.
Yeah.
Garoppolo never played it down in preseason. So it was his preseason game. So you're right. They're all going to get better. They're all going to get a little more meshed together. You got to see who's got the good coaches and who doesn't. Okay, let's move on down the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals look terrible, but the weather there is a throwout game. That weather in Cleveland was so bad that the Cleveland Bengals game was a no-brainer. The Bengals benched their first teamers in the fourth quarter to save it for this week's conference game against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, they disappointed. They're lucky that they covered the points there. I don't think their quarterback's ever going to make. Look, they're paying him $80 million a year or whatever they're paying him a year. That's about $80 million too much. He could be a running back. He's not a quarterback, and everybody's going to bet him. And I'm going to take Cincinnati. I think they just set Burrow down on the bench and the first team and said, we're not going to play in this slop. We're behind. Let's rest and let's get after Baltimore. So I'm going to go on that theory, and I'm taking the Bengals -3.
Bengals, I think, gained 142 yards in the game last week. Multiply that by 2.5 or 3. They're going to gain 350 or 400 yards. And not that Baltimore's defense is bad. It's that the Bengals offense is that good. It just wasn't last week. Also, from the Ravens' point of view, they lose their best running back, Dobbins, for the season.
Yeah.
And that's true. A major, major loss, because your point well taken again, in that Lamar Jackson is a good running quarterback, but I don't think he's a great passing quarterback. And now you've lost your running back. I want to take the Bengals to win here.
I think that's one of the best plays of the week, honestly. All right, we'll do one more for a break. Let's take a look at the New York Giants. They did a fabulous performance, so fabulous last week, getting beat 40-0. They go to Arizona this week, and the Giants opened 5.5-point favorites. They dropped to 4 immediately. And now this morning, I'm looking at my software computer, tracking the lines right now, and right now it's back up to 5.5. So it went from 5.5 to 4, back up to 5.5. We're talking about the Giants are 5.5-point favorites over the Arizona Cardinals. The wrong team's favored in this matchup too. The Cardinals may not have a quarterback, but they have a very fast defense. And there's one thing we know: the Giants can't play against a very good defense, because they scored 0 points last week. So I expect them to score maybe 3 points this week. I don't even think they could cover the 6 if Arizona wasn't on the field. So I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to take them to win straight up, and I'm not going to be ballyhooed by all the East Coast crap on TV that you see, because these people on the East Coast are the ones that are skewing the lines in the direction of the losers, the square bettors, and giving us pros great opportunities.
I don't think Arizona will win 3 games all season long. I don't think they'll win here. And I don't care if Murray comes back or doesn't come back. I don't think it matters. I firmly believe it. Just based on the talent level, if you read the preseason books and everything else, this might be the worst team in the National Football League of the 32. I disagree with you. Obviously, every single thing that could go wrong for the Giants went wrong for the Giants against the Cowboys. I think they'll win here. And again, I don't think Arizona will win 3 games all year.
Well, you're on the bookmaker side of that one, that's for sure. But I completely disagree. The Giants suck. Their quarterback sucks. He's never going to be a quarterback in the NFL, period. Stop. He's never going to be.
They're paying him $40 million, Dennis.
Yeah, $40 million a year for that. I could play that well for $40 million still, and I'm in my 70s. So you can take that Duke kid. I think it's the Duke kid, right?
Yeah.
He's from Duke. Don't draft any more Duke quarterbacks, for Christ's sake. I mean, there's 100 better quarterbacks out there than that guy. Anyway, I'm taking Arizona at home. All right, let's move on down to the San Francisco 49ers, who is tough. And they fooled everybody last week by kicking ass. They're going to play your Rams this week. The line went from 6 to 7 to 8 on the 49ers. The total went from 42 to 43 to 44.5. So it looks like the 49ers and a lot of scoring versus the Rams this week. I'm going to let you have first crack.
I think the Rams played much better than they really are last week against Seattle, who played a horrendous game. The 49ers are only going to improve week after week. Again, Purdy did his thing, 220 yards. They didn't even have to do it. I mean, they had such an easy win against the Steelers. I think they'll win by as many as they want to win by, to tell you the truth. McCaffrey, again, is back 100%. Ayuk, what can you say? 2 touchdown receptions again. Listen, I was brought up a Ram fan. I listened to every game and watched every game I could. My dad used to get me on the sideline to some Ram games. I think the real Rams will show up here at the end of the season. McVay won't be back next year as the Ram coach. Don't judge it off of that victory over Seattle. I'm taking the 49ers.
Well, it is interesting you like Seattle so well, and the Rams kicked their butt horribly. And now the 49ers, one of the best teams in the league, goes in there. I agree with you. I mean, I don't know how the Rams scored that much against Seattle because I lost interest in the game when I seen that they couldn't even come close to covering. But the Rams have a defense. They have Donald in the middle. That's about all they got. But San Francisco can match up on defense too. San Francisco is a very good team, very well coached. And I don't even think I know that McCaffrey got a lot of action, but what about the other big star, Debo? He didn't get that much action. If they get Debo in the game this week, on top of all of the rest of them, I think you're right. They're going to run over the Rams. And I think San Francisco's beat the Rams, 8 times? Last year, I remember talking about it twice on the air and taking San Francisco on my contest because they beat the Rams all the time.
I think Shanahan is like 9-3 against McVay. So
you're 5 or 6-0 in the last outings even. So there's a differential there. I'm going to go with you too. Lay the points on the road. Everybody play that yourself. The total on this one's going up. I wouldn't be surprised there's a lot of points scored either. Okay, let's move on. I'll tell you what we do. Let's take a short 30-second break, and then we'll be back and finish off the schedule. Hello, football fans. Dennis Tobler here with some great, exciting news for the 2024 season. You can watch Football Forecast Weekly on many outlets, from Astound TV Network to footballforecast.com, gamblingbroadcast.com, the Gambling Broadcast Network on YouTube, and many, many, many more stations. Also, I want to tell you that you can access the audio to Football Forecast Weekly on every podcast channel. So pick your favorite podcast channel and make sure you bookmark Football Forecast Weekly for every week. We're on Amazon Music or Apple Music, Amazon, all the way to Spotify and TuneIn. Every one of them carries Football Forecast Weekly. So if you want to win and you want to win big, stay tuned to Football Forecast Weekly each week right here on this station. Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly, everyone. I'm Dennis Tobler here with Fred Wallen. We're going to finish out the card for you this week. And then always remember you can be in touch with us on our email addresses anytime. Just send us an email. We'd be glad to respond to you. Mine's winner@footballforecast.com, and Fred's email is sportsfred@aol.com. So feel free to send some communication along. I want to thank all you people who contacted us and told us they missed the first week of the season. Well, we were unable to get our contract settled until this week of the season, but we will be going through the Super Bowl this year. So that's the best news of all. Took a little contract negotiation, but we got her done. Okay, let's get back to the football. That's what we really like to talk about. And this one here will be a good one. This is the Jets at the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys coming off their big wins. Now, the first thing I want to do here is I want to tell you what the lines were this summer on this game when they thought Rodgers was going to be playing. Dallas was a 3-point favorite. The total was 46.5. Okay, after the weekend games last weekend, the line has moved to Dallas minus 9.5. And the total, and I think we had it 9 on the sheet, but now it's 9.5. And the total is only 39.5. It dropped from 46.5 to 39.5 because of Rodgers being out. So take what you will on that. I'm going to give it to you first, Fred. The Dallas Cowboys minus 9.5. The total is 39.5 in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on the win. The Rodgers thing still is shaking my head. It really has. It's very tough to figure how the other team's going to think and how the Jets are going to think. Obviously, the Jets were fortunate to win the game without Rodgers on Monday night. There's no question about that. So they might be thinking, hey, they can win all the time. Now the Cowboys are saying, hey, without Rodgers, we're going to win easily. I don't think that's the case because I think the Jets defense is pretty good, to tell you the truth. So I don't think they're going to score all that many points. So I think I'm going to go on the under here, just on a hunch that neither team will be thinking logically. I think there'll be mistakes made. So I'm going to go on the under and go in that direction.
Well, I think that's a smart move. I mean, even if they were all playing, it was 46.5. It's down to 39.5. I mean, there's a ton of money on the unders, and then we never know about the weather either. But I guess it's in Dallas, so we don't have to worry about the weather. I'll have to say this: the Jets have one of the best defenses in the league. I think I really do. They made Buffalo look pathetic, and the Cowboys astounded me. I haven't seen Dak Prescott play so well in my entire life, I don't believe. Now, I didn't watch all of that game, but I watched enough of it to see that they destroyed him. And the New York Giants at home, I mean, how much credence do you give that win? I think you got to give it a lot of credence. I think Dallas is going to be a whole lot better this year than they were in the past. I don't know whether Trey Lance coming in pushing Dak out of the side might be some whatever help for Zach to be better, or Dak or whatever his name is. Anyway, in this matchup here, I'm with you. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets plus the points. Until Dallas does it consistently, I'm not sold. Okay. And I'm certainly not sold on the New York Giants. So they get to play
Okay, so
another week.
who do you think they're going to pick up as the third quarterback? The league changed the rule after last year's playoffs in the 49er game. You remember what happened? They only had two quarterbacks legally to play. They changed it now where they can have three. But on Monday night, the Jets only had two.
Right.
Boyle was the second quarterback. Who did they sign?
That's who they signed. Boyle.
No, but they have Boyle as a second quarterback, but who becomes the second quarterback? Somebody better.
You mean who are we talking about? The Jets?
The Jets, they're obviously they're not going to go with. They're not going to go. Boyle cannot be your quarterback if Wilson gets hurt. So you need a third quarterback, is all, because he's not very good. So my point is,
good, he'll be their backup quarterback. That's all I was saying.
Okay, so you don't think they'll pay for somebody better?
No, I don't think so. Now, I don't know. They may. Who are they going to get that's better?
Colin Kaepernick. It's only been 7 years. It's only been 7 years.
His name. I thought we'd go the whole show. He hasn't played in 10 years. I mean, let's get Kaepernick on the field for him. Yeah, I agree somewhat with you on that. I just think the Jets have a good defense. I'm not sold on Dallas. Dallas is always overrated. And like I say, beating up these New York teams is not a big thing. They're not that good. They're just overblown because they're in New York City, you know? So I'm going to take the points, though. I have to. Okay, let's move on down to the Washington Commanders. And I love it on the schedule. It's such a long name, they can't put Washington Commanders on the schedules. They just have to put Washington. Okay, so if Washington's on the road to play the Broncos got their hat handed to them. And even though they played a good game, and I thought Russell did a very good job on offense, I really did. I thought he did. I think their defense was a little lacking there, and I don't think they have the confidence. One thing's for sure, they have a better head coach, but he went for a lot of things too. But I can see a lot of improvement in the offense. The defense, they've lost some good guys over the last couple of years, so they're going to have to pick it up and improve. But, 3.5 points at home against Washington. Washington stinks. I don't care what they say. They won last week, but they didn't cover the points, and they were one of the biggest losers versus the point spread on all the contests here in town. And everybody thought they were going to be good. Well, I got news for you. That Sam quarterback's a rookie or whatever he is. He ain't no better than a rookie. All right. He's not going to come in there and beat the Denver Bronco defense in Mile High Stadium or whatever the stadium's called now. So I'm going to take the Denver Broncos, lay the 3.5. I think this is where the big win comes, is in this game. I think Denver beats them by 21 or more points. I don't think Washington has a team to play outside of Washington, and playing at mile high altitude, not going to help them either. So I'm taking Denver in a blowout in this matchup.
I think that Sam Howell's going to have to improve an awful lot here. I think Wilson, who played, listen, he's my favorite quarterback. We've talked about that for years. Last year, he played about as poorly as you can possibly play. He's going to get his first win here. Denver's going to win by as big as they want to win by. Sam Howell, just a youngster. We'll see how he improves, but this will be Wilson's game, I do believe.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'd be his coming out party, and everybody will be happy in Denver because right now they're sick. They're sick to their stomach in that stadium. Okay, let's move on to what would be the evening game this week. The high-flying Miami Dolphins, and I'm telling you what, Tua to Tyreek is Hall of Fame. Okay, that's it. And Tua played the best game I've ever seen him play in his life against San Diego. But then again, we're up against that San Diego lousy coaching staff. But look, with Tyreek in their folds, all they have to do is throw the ball up in the air and he'll run over under it and get it. I believe he had 3 touchdowns, right? 3 touchdowns at San Diego last week. So when it comes to Miami and New England, I'm not giving Bill Belichick any more credit, okay? As soon as Tom Brady left, so did the Belichick win streaks, all right? Before Tom Brady came, Belichick had no win streaks. So for 20 years while Tom Brady ran the team, they won all the time. With Brady gone, they don't win anymore. They were pathetic last week. They have a pathetic quarterback too. I don't care that they are at home this week because they cannot score enough to outscore Miami because the Chargers couldn't score enough at home to outscore Miami. So I'm going to take Miami here, and you can play the over if you want to. 46.5 should be at halftime over.
I think Belichick, since Brady left, is now 25-27. I'm going to repeat that, folks. And I think obviously he's a Hall of Fame coach, but he's 25-27 since Brady has moved on to Tampa and now retired. By the way, maybe the Jets will pick up Brady. That would be interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. Anyway, he owns 5% of the Raiders. I guess he'd have to put them in trust or something. But anyways, no, I think the Dolphins will win here easily. The Patriots tried to make a comeback. They're just not good enough. And so I'm going with the Dolphins on the road. And again, it's interesting too. Tua does not have the world's greatest arm. What it proves, if you're a smart quarterback, it doesn't take a dynamite arm. It's sort of like a pitcher. Let's see, John Smoltz could throw 95 and he'd win. But other players on the Braves, like Glavine, could throw 85 and he'd win. If you're smart enough, you can get it done. And Tua can get it done, and he's going to get it done again this week.
Yeah, his confidence came back. He's much healthier, bigger, stronger, faster probably too. I like him there. And I think Denver and Miami are our 2 best bets of the week. Let's quickly look at the Monday night matchups this week. The New Orleans Saints with their new quarterback, Derek Carr, on the road to take the Carolina Panthers on. Carolina seems to have nothing. I think Derek Carr is a big pickup for the Saints. The Saints are -3. Quickly, I'm taking the Saints and laying the 3 in the first game on Monday night.
I'm taking Derek Carr. I'm taking Derek Carr to go 2-0. So I'm going with him.
All right, we'll agree there. And the final game this week is a barn burner. The Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, nobody will watch the game. Nobody will stay up for it. The total went from 43.5 to 40. So if you want to bet on no scoring, that's the thing to do. The Pittsburgh quarterback is a joke. He's the most highly rated, highly touted flop since the guy came from Washington State. So I don't know if Cleveland's going to win this game. If it's raining, they'll win because they'll run the ball. And Pittsburgh, on the other hand, I don't think they're going to win. I think their time is done. All right. That quarterback, Tomlin, has won so many more games than he deserved to win in his career that I don't have confidence in him still. I mean, here again, it was Ben Roethlisberger, not Tomlin. All those years of wins, they didn't come out of Tomlin. Tomlin can't pull out the win. I'm taking Cleveland on the road hesitantly and the under.
I'm going the under. I can see 4 or 5 field goals in this one, depending on the rain and whatever. I'm going on the under.
All right, that does it for this week. I hope you people had your pens and pencils ready. Stay tuned on this very channel or podcast station for next week's show. Each and every Thursday, we release a new show, and you don't want to miss any of them. Thank you very much to Mr. Fred Wallen for his insights. And until next week, good luck and goodbye.